A lot of times people ask me, what's the best camera? Like, what camera should I buy right now? If I had to buy any camera, if money was not an object, what camera should I buy? And that's really hard to answer. This is the answer that most people give, but there is no perfect camera at any point in time. There's never going to be a perfect camera that people should just drop their money on and spend it on. There are certainly cameras that have advantages over other ones, but there's never going to be a perfect camera because everyone has different priorities. Certain people really like the shallow depth of field look. They want that background blurred out and just the focus to be on the subject. But other people, they don't want to have to fight with, larger sensors and the shallow depth of field because they want things in focus. Maybe it's a documentary or a news crew or just somebody who doesn't want to have to deal with that challenge of keeping things in focus and they want a deeper depth of field. Well, those are two radically different perspectives and needs, and no camera can fit both of those, at least not with current technology in the physical world we live in. Other people want as high resolution as possible. Other people are trying to save money on hard drives and they don't want to burn through all that extra data. So they've got to keep their costs down. Well, again, those are two radically different perspectives. Some people have a bunch of Canon lenses and they want a camera that works with Canon lenses, but then other people have Nikon lenses, and other people have cinema PL mount lenses, and other people have micro four thirds lenses, and other people don't have any lenses at all. All those things factor into like which mount do you get on this camera? Can they make a camera that has, compatibility for all these different lenses? These are all challenges and reasons why like people go one way or another and they're pushed and pulled by other factors. Now, I think there are some common elements that could be put into a camera to make that camera as perfect or as close to perfect as possible. I think one of those is 4K. I think in the modern world that we live in, you have to be shooting at least 4K for everything you do, because I've talked about this in a few other videos, but even if you're finalizing in 1080p, your final output is only 1080, you still should shoot at 4K, because guaranteed the camera that you have that shoots 1080p could look better if you were shooting 4K and scaling it down. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and I go into that in other videos. But you should at least be shooting 4K. So that's, feature number one that I think would be on a camera. Obviously, dynamic range is huge. Any camera, the more dynamic range you can get into the camera, that's probably going to be a better camera than the other options. That's just a good thing to have. More dynamic range, more flexibility, capturing more of the image, not having to worry about blown out windows or shadows that are too dark. Getting that full range of the image, that's ideal. I think, the option to record at higher frame rates is just a good thing to have. I don't think anyone would say that, oh, if my camera can shoot 240 frames a second, I don't want it. That's silly. Who would say that? Just don't use that function. But I can certainly see cameras, if they don't have those higher frame rate options down the road, like that's where everything's moving towards, slow motion and capturing the higher frame rates. Camera manufacturers have to start including that, even on the cheaper consumer stuff. We've seen that with like the GH4 and the NX1 and a few of the other cameras. The Sony FS7 is really pushing the frame rate options. That's a little bit of a more expensive camera, but still relatively affordable compared to some other options. So having that option of recording those higher frame rates and being able to do that slow motion, that is another incredibly important feature that if a camera's missing that or lacking it, I probably couldn't recommend it. There's so many different things and different components to cameras that everyone's going to have their say of what they think. Oh, it should record to SD cards, or it should record to CFast, or it should record to SSD, or it should record to the cloud. I don't know. Whatever people are saying, they'll say something. And there's always going to be a pro and con to everything. So really, it comes down to what your goals are, what you're looking for, because you have to know, right? Don't buy a camera unless you know why you're buying it. That's kind of silly, right? So if you know why you need the camera, then you can find a camera that matches those goals or those reasons for wanting it. Maybe you want to shoot in low light. That's a reason to buy a certain camera over another. Or you want the most resolution possible. It's another reason. Or you want the most dynamic range. Or you want the best color depth, or you want something that records to SSDs, or you want something that records to SD cards, whatever it might be. Once you figure all that out, what you want, then it's actually usually pretty easy, because usually with those requirements, there's probably only a couple good options. And then it might just come down to price. How much do you want to spend for this thing? Do you want to get the best of the best, or are you comfortable saving a little bit of money, putting it towards something else, and getting something that's maybe a little bit more affordable and cost effective? So that just comes down to you and your personal goals. So that's why it's so hard to answer. What is the best camera? What camera should I buy? And inevitably, it's what everyone asks. Everyone asks that question: what camera should I buy? But it's really something you kind of have to look in the mirror and just ask yourself, what do I need? What do I want? And then doing the market research to kind of figure out what camera actually meets those needs.